Viewers, you are welcome to our program, Nigeria Decides 2023, Issues and Voices. This is a program that's produced and brought to you by the National Working Group on Peace and Good Governance. This is a civil society organization that has a number of important players in the civil society space. They include the Sultan of Sokoto, Saad Abubakar, John Cardinal Onaikan, the Bishop Emeritus of the Catholic Church in Abuja, Professor Atairu Jega, and quite a number of other key actors. The mission of this program is to have conversations with important players on preparations for the 2023 elections. What are the voices of Nigerians saying about the preparations for elections? And what are the issues that matter? Today, we are discussing an issue of great concern to all lovers of democracy in Nigeria. And that's the issue of corruption in the electoral process. We have two civil society activists to discuss this issue. First, we have Itia Otabo from Leadership and Strategy Center, and we also have George Monye from the Majesty Foundation. Gentlemen, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Otabo, let's start with you. Tell us a bit about the work you do in the Center for Leadership and Strategy.
Yes, I'm from the African Center for Leadership, Strategy and Development, Center, popularly known as Center LSD, and we work from three major areas: leadership, strategy, and development. In our developmental work, we interrogate areas of accountability, transparency, and in that sector, we have been very, very involved in election matters over the years. Center LSD started in 2010, and over the past, from 2007 elections, we've been very active in the area of election monitoring. And of course, with our work also concerning the Open Government Partnership, the OGP, we have a synergy between looking at governance, accountability, and transparency. So that gives us a platform where we can interrogate some of these issues in the society.
Thank you. And George, what do you do at the Majesty Foundation?
Yeah, as Majesty Foundation, we are very much concerned with the plight of the citizens in Nigeria, looking at not just the economic side alone, but we also look at the political side. The economic side being a concern that we're looking at improving, reducing the gap between the urban and the rural communities, reducing the size of the inequality gap that is there. And secondly, on the other side, looking at when we are dealing with communities, you must also see how to get information across to them. So we provide information for them, and that leads us into getting involved in election observation as well, and which we have also been involved for the past, since 2010, 2011, and we have been part of the civil society situation, Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room, which is involved in election observation nationwide.
Okay, thank you, and welcome to both of you. Itia, let me start with you. Corruption has been very much an issue with this 2023 election round. Even some of the presidential candidates themselves are accusing each other of corruption. We've had one say another candidate is a convicted drug baron, and the other one say one is a convicted money launderer. What do you think about all these allegations about corruption? How healthy is that as we prepare for elections?
Well, to the extent that in our society today, in Nigeria, one of the most bandied words in our environment is that word corruption. So to a large extent, that word has become so prevalent and so used that sometimes it might lose its essential context. And that's why I think that in the light of the particular election, it is important that as citizens, we are able to deconstruct corruption as it affects us and the election. And while in politics, it is given that candidates will want to try to demarcate each other. But I think for us, and from this standpoint of Center LSD, what we are mostly concerned about when it comes to corruption and the 2020 election is to the extent to which the freely given mandate of the people should not be corrupted. And so we are more interested in interrogating the systems and the structures that are already in place or that we are envisaging that will be in place to ensure that the people vote, and that not only that they vote, but their vote will count, and that at the end of the day, this election 2023 will be fair, free, credible, and peaceful. So for us, in that context, when we interrogate corruption, we are asking what are the gaps or what are the loopholes that will be inimical to us achieving that for the people. And okay, I think as we go on, we'll begin to look at that. Yeah.
We'll come back to that. George, what's your own view about these allegations of corruption being bandied around by the candidates themselves? Some of the candidates, not all of them.
My view is that it is contrary to what they signed. You know, we know at least almost all of them have signed the pact that everything will be peaceful before, during, and after the elections. But they have started breaking the agreement. So they are to be totally and seriously cautioned. There is need for elder statesmen and the people that you have mentioned now that are at the top in this national working group.
Yes.
Yeah. They should be able to, they should not just close their eyes and keep quiet. They should call them to order, invite them for a meeting, and let them know that you have signed, even if you didn't sign, as people that you want to take over the leadership of a nation like Nigeria, you need to set good example. You want people to vote for you. So why don't you come together and please let's see how we can rub minds together and see how all those kind of things should stop immediately, even before the election comes up.
Thank you. So, Itia, let's go back to your definition that you are looking at the specific problems that will generate problems in terms of free, fair elections. So what are those issues in your view that we need to look at in terms of how corruption may affect the 2023 elections?
I think if we take a synoptic view about this present election, we've been able to identify that there are three major, I would say there are three major issues that have the capacity to corrupt the legitimate will of the people in this election. The first that we have identified has been in the issue of the accreditation of voters. The second is this prevailing menace that is gaining traction, which is vote buying. And then the third is the security, which we believe can also be a source or a vehicle to corrupt people's freely given will. But
so take the first one then.
Yeah, like I said, accreditation. So in that sense, we have noted the coming on stream of beavers. And at the several fora that we have attended with INEC, it has been said categorically, even as recent as just 48 hours ago at the program organized by the National Mosque, where the representative of the chairman of INEC, Professor Mohamed Kuna, stated categorically to all that the way the PVAS is configured BVAS cannot be compromised. BVAS will be an accurate record of accreditation and uploading of results. So we are satisfied with that assurance. Then the second is the one of the vote buying. And that has become...
We'll come back to vote buying. Are you happy with the issues he has raised about accreditation?
Yes, very much.
Okay. So why don't you start on vote buying? What's the problem with vote buying?
Well, the problem with vote buying is that we seem to be beating about the bush about it. We are not finding any solution to it. Watch it. I'm not prophesying negatively or a prophet of doom or whatever. What the election will soon come out, you will discover that vote buying will still be ubiquitous. We just have to pray that it will not be, because we have not done. We all went to school, and we know that if you are doing something the same way, I'm not against INEC now, because INEC, they have done their best, but the electorate, they are ready. They don't even mind. Only very few that are determined that come what may, I want to vote whom I want to vote for. I don't care. But majority will still say that this person, I like him, is for my place, or this one, all those kind of sentiments, and then they don't mind to also give themselves to collecting money. But we just thank God. The last Osun election, the last Ekiti election, I was there live, and we went to a few places. We were able to see that some people made up their mind they won't collect, but yet some others, very many, you will see them when they told those of you that you have not collected, follow us. They followed to one corner and went to collect their money. So where is before the election, a lot of debates went on. They said, no, we have put this in place, we have put that in place. They say EFCC, they will do this, ICPC, they will do this. Some security officers, they are there to checkmate this and that. There was nothing like that. The security officers were there while those things were going on, and so that's the challenge there about vote buying.
Itia, you are an expert on strategy. Some people say vote buying is not a problem because people offer money to voters who will accept that money. After all, is being given to them freely. But when they go to vote, it's vote by secret ballot. Therefore, you can receive money from A, go there, and in all conscience vote for candidate B.
Yes.
So what's the problem in that case?
The problem is that when you look at the architecture of vote buying, it has both structural and behavioral bias to it. The structural bias is the fact that when those who buy votes, which have been classified into wholesale and retail buyers, they're the ones who tend to want to go and buy wholesale through a wholesale middleman, or those who do the retail. Now, it's been found out that in the past, the wholesale buying could work. But especially because, like we've said, the introduction of BVAS, the wholesale buying has become unattractive. So there's more emphasis on the retail purchase. And when you buy votes retail purchase, you must show that this vote I'm purchasing, you actually voted for me. And that's why it was noted in some of those off-cycle elections that in the way INEC positioned those cubicle, when you go to cast your vote, there's an agent of those buying the votes who will be somewhere observing. And there is a way you can surreptitiously show the ballot paper, and you will see it. And when you have cast the vote, then that's when you get paid. That has
so it's evidence-based payment.
Exactly, it's evidence. You have to show the evidence. So in some of the fora, we've told INEC that you have to move in such a way that the cubicle will be placed in such a way that nobody will have the ability to show any other person what party you voted for. So that would diminish your ability to show evidence. And if the man knows that he cannot have evidence to show or substantiate that you voted for him, he will probably not pay you. And that brings us to the behavioral bias, which you mentioned, which speaks to the fact that somebody could then decide, okay, I will vote for you. Give me, I collect what you, if you're going to trust me, collect, I will collect. Then when I get into the voting booth, I'm going to still vote my conscience. And it's interesting that a lot of organizations are beginning to work on those two arms, especially in terms of sensitization. So you find a lot of people even doing jingles and doing communication strategies to say to people, collect the money, but when you go into that place, be sensitized and you vote for your conscience. So both are working in tandem. At the end of 2023, we're going to see how much. We cannot say we will completely eliminate vote buying, but we hope that with these synergistic strategies, at least those incidents will be at the barest minimum.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, you know, what he said is exact. But then there's another side to it. The other side is that in some places, they almost make them to come and, swear that you are going to vote for us. And if you don't vote, so something like this will happen to you. It happened in Kogi a few years back. We were live, and a young lady told people that I'm giving you money. I'm giving you money. So if you didn't vote for us, I tell you, something will happen to you. And the guy that said that what will happen to me? Nothing. You think Baba God is interested in all these useless things you people are doing, all these corrupt things you people are doing. Baba God, nothing will happen to me. The person collected the money. You see now, and that's how they threatened others too. We were watching them. We were observers, so we observed all those things that they brought in. Do I say religion into it? That cursing and swearing and that's so as to ensure that they actually did. So others.
But you know, swearing on oath doesn't work in Nigeria. You know that, don't you?
But you know, at the local level, people know that once they tell you that you are going to swear by whatever, something may happen to you if you didn't vote actually for them. So that fear, you see, will be there automatically. And so if something starts coming up, happening, it's because I didn't vote accordingly, but I collected money from them. So those are the things, this conscience or no conscience issue.
Yes. Okay, Tia, you mentioned the security agencies are also a factor in terms of corruption of the electoral process.
Yes.
How is that?
Yes, we've observed that over time, and this is factual and based on evidence, that the security agencies are also a group that can be corrupted to influence or to affect the conduct of election on that day. It's well known. And so we see that as the third major arm, because if the security agencies are not neutral, if they are not above board, if they don't display utmost professionalism, then it is possible that they can be used to corrupt that election. And of course, we know that today, one of the most pervasive issues in our environment is the issue of security. And so if we don't even have, INEC has also reiterated, we don't even have enough in terms of those. We are talking about over 194,000 polling units all spread across the country. We don't even have the kind of numbers, security to man them. So we see that as the third major thing that can be an issue in terms of corrupting the bill. So if the numbers that we have can display utmost professionalism, be neutral, and display a sense of commitment to that assignment, then we also believe that the threshold for corruption will also be very, very reduced. So that's why we identified that those are the three major things that we'll see in terms of corrupting the election.
Judge, do you think there has been an improvement in terms of the neutrality of security forces in their electoral duties?
There's the improvement. There's improvements. Only it is very insignificant. Isn't it? There is improvement, but very gradual. It's not really very. Yeah. The reason why I say it's so much insignificant is that because when election is approaching like this, they also have their own strategies. and they try to see how they can synergize with themselves, all the security agencies. You see how they bring themselves on board, and like that, we see that. And when they get there, we discover that you will find every election period, especially maybe during the general election, even during the off-cycle ones, you will see them come up with some new concepts, but it doesn't really have in-depth effect. I will explain. You know, you see them coming up that we won't allow this, we won't allow that. No. Now, if we won't allow that, but eventually you will discover that, for example, issues about this about the vote buying and vote selling. If security agencies want to really get in depth into it, they will not just do all their preparations. They will also sit down and think over it, that who are the people perpetrating this? It is not the electorate that are initiating vote buying or vote selling. It is the politicians. So the security agencies would have put on their thinking cap very well in their planning, that okay, let's beam our light on the security agencies, on the politicians, and then let's meet the politicians. It's not too late for them to do that and tell them that, come on, all you parties will respect you very well. We respect all of you, but we are telling you, stop all these things you have been doing. The electorate, if you don't offer, they will not accept. So please, we don't want to see. So if we take any step, don't feel offended though. We are ready. We are going all out. That is when things will start really, the significant change will become, the insignificant change will become significant. We will see it really dawning on people, because we have, from where the source, you have gone to address it as security agents, that we are all out and we must not see you people offer anything. Once we see you, we take this step, and once we take that step, don't blame us. You'll see that all those things will go down, and then the electorate themselves will not bother to be asking them anything, because even if anybody is asking, it will be very, very minimal. That's it.
Itia, one of the challenges that have been affecting elections in this country right from the 1950s is the use of thugs, of violence. And this, by our own definition, is also a way of corrupting the electoral process, where you introduce violence either to keep people away from voting, or else as a way of stealing the ballot box or whatever. What's your assessment of the use of thuggery in elections today?
That's a very good observation. And I would like to contextualize it by saying that over the years, especially with the adoption of technology, the incident of the viability of thuggery have also consequentially reduced. Like you mentioned, thugs were used mostly in those days to hijack the ballot boxes. When they would have gone somewhere to thumbprint and stop ballot boxes, they hijacked the original ones and then tried to replace it with their own. But like it's been noticed with beavers, that is already eliminated. So INEC has said it several times, even if you try to go and hijack any ballot boxes, it's a vain attempt to affect the election. Because right there at the polling unit, when the accreditation has been done, when voting has been done, the result has been uploaded on the beavers. Beavers has transmitted it to the e-report panel. So that takes away all that. So politicians also know that there is no point doing that in terms of talking. So that brings them to the other one that they can manipulate, which, like you rightly observe, is on the day of the election. Actual physical actions to scare away people from coming to vote. And that has a nexus with security. And that has a part to say that we can't have security men deployed to every polling unit. So it means that if politicians too are also doing their mapping, they could also, by just looking at the environment, know some of the areas where they might not have heavy security presence, and those are the places they will now have the tendency to amass their talks to ensure that they disrupt the elections there, to the extent of scaring people from voting. So that even the ones who are now brave to come out and vote might be their own people who they have already mobilized to come and vote. So like you notice, that is a very important area, and that's why we said it is linked to that what we have identified as the security challenge. The INEC keeps assuring us, the security agencies, even as 48 hours ago, keep assuring us that they are on top of the game, there will be security. We can only hope. But we know that the factual evidence is that we don't have the numbers to be able to adequately police all the polling units in a way that will definitely give us a comfort. But we just hope for the best.
Thank you. George, you want to add anything on the use of thugs and its implications?
Yeah, like Itia said, the use of thugs or towards working towards violence and so on, that has reduced a lot. That is during election. Why? Because there are security forces all around. So if anybody is intending to do anything, the person is afraid that they will bundle him or her and anything happens. So it's not very common, except in those riverine areas or areas that are so much in the interior, where they felt that they are within their own enclosed places, so they feel they can do and undo, except those few places. But then, where violence is really seen during the elections is this. It is either before the election, especially, you will find there are some pockets of places in Nigeria where you find people break forth, see, and really do a lot of, they are ready to, right now as we are talking, there are a lot of violence going on now because of these forthcoming elections. Yes, a lot, which sends in a lot of jitters in people that, they killed one person there. And is these people, is this senatorial candidate that instigated, brought people to go and kill another senatorial candidate so that you do away with that person. That day of the election, can I go out? So that is the effect. See, do you think these people? So, but thank God that INEC and others have been educating people, and that please come out, feel free, and come and vote. There's no problem, and as much as possible, because of the presence of we civil societies, we say that no. Why should there be so much security all around like this? It's not so in UK. It's not so in it's not so in that place. But we later, during Jega's time, we argued a lot. Jega came up to tell us that, come, I agree with you, but if we don't put security there, it will upturn everything, and there's nothing you can do. So let them be there, and they will stay far away, so that if there's anything coming up, they will now come up and tidy it up. If there's nothing, they will remain where they are. And so, in that case, what I'm trying to say is that before the election, a lot of things are going. That's a lot of violence, is it now? So it will now go like that before the election, and also though they will try to stop when the elections come, because they know that they will not be able to fabricate anything during the election. But before, there are a lot of things going on now.
Okay, viewers, we are taking a short break. We'll be right back.
TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Viewers, you are welcome back to the program Nigeria Decides 2023, Issues and Voices, a program brought to you by the National Working Group on Peace and Good Governance. This program is also supported by the United States Institute of Peace. Gentlemen, let's come to the organizer of the elections themselves, which is INEC. And the integrity of any election depends on two sets of factors. The integrity of the stakeholders, from voters through to political parties, through to the security agencies and all that. But the other and second important part is that of the Independent National Electoral Commission. What's your view about, first of all, the trends in terms of the performance of INEC over the years? Have we seen an improvement in terms of the integrity and competence of the staff of INEC?
Okay. I go first.
Yes.
Yeah, Prof, I think that if we take a historical look at it, to be fair, we would say that there has been an improvement over time. I think apart from the 2007 election, which I heard in a forum was adjudged to be the worst election in all the almost 7 elections that have been conducted in Nigeria so far. I think if we remove the 2011, from the 2011 to 2015, 2019, there's been an upward improvement. And I think that we cannot look at that improvement in a lacuna. It has to be looked at from the context of the fact that for subsequent elections, there's been an improvement in technology use, and there's also been an improvement in the institutional framework. People have agreed to a large extent that the Electoral Act 2022, upon which this election would be conducted, is one of the bravest and one of the most robust electoral law that we have come up with in Nigeria. It addresses and captures some of the major things that have become endemic in our electoral process. So institutional-wise, I think that's been done. So coming back to INEC, fine. There is always going to be the human factor when you deal with people. And human beings are prone to corruption. They are prone to inducement. They are prone to all of those things. But one of the things that we believe has been the game changer is, if you look at the process, is to interrogate the process and ask yourself, to what extent can this process be corrupted by the INEC staff themselves? And that's a very good question. If you start from the accreditation and with the beavers, it can be, no INEC staff can corrupt that system. And then that, because the major things that have happened is that elections are corrupted at accreditation and at collation of results. So what happens in between those two have in the time past been what determines a lot when it comes to election. But with technology, the question to ask, the critical question to ask, is to what extent can even INEC itself compromise or corrupt the system? And if you look at it very objectively, Prof, you'll find out that it's very minimal. Because once accreditation is done, the beavers recognize the number of people who have been accredited at that polling unit. When voting is done, the beavers also is the first point of the transmission of the results, which everybody at the polling unit are witness to. So, and that result goes automatically to their INEC e-portal. So, where we have to ask ourselves, to what extent can somebody corrupt that? And that's why it brings into view the recent Osun State Electoral Tribunal verdict. So we are saying that to that extent, what INEC would now simply be facing now, to our mind, is the Herculean logistical challenge to be able to deploy materials to all of these polling units, to be able to deploy personnel to all of these polling units, and to ensure that elections actually are held and they are held as they should. But I think if that is done, the element of individual corrupting the system, we think that is much, much reduced.
George, what's your own view in terms of INEC staff themselves, both full-time staff and ad hoc staff that are used in the elections?
Right. You were trying to look for, is there any improvement?
Yes.
There is a lot. There's a lot. We're saying so. If there is no improvement, we will say it openly. See, there is a lot of improvement. Why? Because right from the time of Jega, even up till now that Professor Yakub is there, civil society organizations have been rallying around them from time to time, and they themselves, they are calling for concepts, calling for any kind of idea you have, please bring it together, and they are ready to take correction openly when they are told that Prof, this thing, it should be corrected. Oh, thank you very much. So and so, please look at, take note and correct it. Any other? That is how they have been doing, and that is the reason why they have made a lot of progress. The only area where, you know, when you gather people, there must be one Judas, according to what people say. Yeah. So some people make themselves, some who are their staff, make themselves Judases. If there are more than, you know, in what way? Those days, up till now, Jega himself and Professor Yakub, they have been hammering it. Come, all your few staff, I'm telling you, if you are found culpable, you are going to jail. Openly, they tell them, and they say, waiting. See, so because as you know, the politicians are ready to call them behind. Not only calling them behind, they are doing it. There are those who are so unscrupulous that they will call them behind and say, come, you must do this for me. See, even though now we can see that those chances are now closed as much as possible, as it has explained.
Yes.
Yeah, those chances are now closed. So, looking at that, we believe that you know, it's like we Nigerians, we have a way of thinking out. They have closed everywhere. Let me look for. Let me still look for any little, no matter how little the chance can be that we can use. Politicians are working on that. They do research, negative research. So
I like the idea of negative research.
Yeah, negative.
Okay, let's move on. Itia, one of the concerns of Nigerians is that with each election, the judiciary is playing a bigger and bigger role. And there are many voices that have expressed concern whether corruption has not reached the doorsteps of the judiciary. Yeah. For example, over the past week, you have seen the reactions of Nigerians to how the Senate president, who did not participate in the primaries of Senate for his party, they turned around to say he had, and right at the level of the Supreme Court, they said they saw him participate. No other Nigerians saw him to participate. So people are saying that, are they not corrupting the 2022 Electoral Act? What's your view on the role of judiciary?
Prof, I must tell you that what you've just raised now saddens a lot of observers. It's a sad commentary for us as a country, because judiciary is said to be the last hope of the common man. And but some of the judgments that are coming out of the judiciary, especially at the apex court, is beginning to leave much to be desired. And some of these judgments are such that even within the public space and within public knowledge, with all due respect to the learned justices, there are some basic things that even we don't need to go to the Supreme Court to know that this is wrong. And that's one of that case that you just cited about the Senate President. I mean, and that was not the first one. It happened in Akwa Ibom State with that of Godswill Akpabio. I mean, everybody in the public space is there. And so it's beginning to be very, very worrisome. And especially when it's happening at the apex court, when they know that once they give that judgment, that's the end. So it's very worrisome. So we are hoping that more and more, like somebody said, that it should be the vote of the people that should be counting, not when they vote and then they go to Supreme Court and then they overturn. I mean, we are still dealing with what happened in Imo State. What happened in Imo State, where the Supreme Court in its wisdom declared somebody who took fourth to become the governor. And Prof, it's so worrisome that if I make a reference to that case, when the Supreme Court made that judgment, they said that they will give their reasons later. I'm not aware that that reason has been given today, and the man is almost spending a time as governor.
No, they gave the reasons. They said they discovered he had votes that were not added by INEC, and therefore they decided to add the votes.
Okay, all right. But I'm just saying
but
that.
INEC has been wondering, where did you find the votes?
Exactly. That's the point I'm making. I'm even angry for the fact that I did try to find out. But you see, it's worrisome. I was in a forum recently that was organized by the Presidential Committee on Anti-Corruption, PICA. And one of the strong points that came at that meeting was a direct, I won't want to mention, there was a direct appeal to the justices that were present in that meeting, that they need to really look at the judiciary and the role that they are playing in the area of anti-corruption. It was an open appeal because it's becoming such that we can no longer ignore what is happening in the judiciary. We can only hope, because like you rightly said, that also, I didn't mention it as part of my 3 because we believe that the judiciary should be above board, so that when politicians run to them to procure spurious judgment, they should be able to say, no, this is not right. We can only hope. But I agree with you, sir, that that is also one area of grave concern to us. It is.
Yeah, George, you want to add anything on the judiciary?
Sure. Actually, what I just want to add is that I'm looking at it that all those things coming up is becoming the fault of we civil societies, and also the fault of the people of Nigeria. Why? It's like we are becoming too quiet. We should not take up arms. We should not start coming up against judiciary that no, this and that. That's not the issue. The issue is that as civil society, there are civil society organizations. There are legal bodies in Nigeria, and you see why I'm saying this is this. Lawan had already owned up initially. He was not agitating for anything. You see, it was because Akpabio went to arrange his own, and eventually they gave it to him. Then people now also called Lawan, how can you?
If Akpabio can do
Magu,
you too can do Magu.
You can see that many of you, about 80% or thereabout, as they said, will be leaving the National Assembly, and new set of people are coming in. So why can you do your own? And so he also now started arranging his own, and then he got it. So, but if when Akpabio did his own, and some set of legal luminaries came together and said, no, please, let's see how we can march forward. This thing is not acceptable, it's not good. If set of civil society organizations came forward in a very civil manner and in a, well articulated point that no, we are concerned about this. No, we won't. No. Please, we can't sleep. This thing must be corrected. No, Lawan will not come up that is going to do anything. And after Lawan has done his own, do you know how many people are still planning to come up with such things? So we must nip it in the bud. We must take some actions like that will really ensure such things are corrected. There are such actions that civil society organizations took, and some legal bodies took, and some concerned members of the society also came up that corrected some things in the past. So why can't we do so that everybody just kept quiet, and so all those things are just going on? So that's my thinking, my concern about it.
Yeah, Itia, when you look at this problem that we are discussing about the role of the judiciary, it appears to me the real problem is the role played by political parties. Because in the case of Ahmed Lawan, for example, it was his party that said the person who won didn't win. It's this man who won, and raised a petition and went to court to defend it. So why is it that political parties continue to engage in what we could consider to be corrupt acts such as this?
Because the political parties themselves are one of the major problems that we have, Prof. And unfortunately, in the past, there was a lot of attention not focused on the political parties. And all the basic tenets of internal democracy, structure, ideology, philosophy, and all that, a lot of people were not focusing on that. But people are beginning to realize now, and I think it's become heightened in this cycle of election 2023, that if we don't also focus on the political parties, and they end up bringing candidates, by the time they present candidates to us, we can't do anything about those candidates anymore. So we're not left to say, okay, look at this person, look at that person. Even the quality of the candidates have become very suspect. So what you are going to find, and I believe it will be very evident in the next cycle, is that a lot of attention will now be being on the political parties themselves in terms of quality candidature that they will bring. And that's why you discover, I was talking to somebody just this morning, and he said to me, House of Rep, I'm going to vote for this party. Governorship, I'll vote for this party. Then for president, I'll vote for president. Unlike in the past when people do wholesale voting for one party. So he has identified, he said, this person for senator, I will vote for, this is my senator, a different party. This person, I will vote for this. So what that means is that in the consciousness of Nigerians, they are beginning to say, look, we're interested in the quality, the pedigree. What is the antecedent of this candidate? And it doesn't matter if that candidate is from a ruling party or from a, it doesn't matter to them now. They are asking you as a candidate. It started a lot now, and I'm telling you, sir, that going to 2027, you will see that it will begin to emerge, and that will force political parties to actually become political parties themselves, where they will practice internal democracy, where they will practice party of ideology, where they will practice parties of quality representation. So I think that for me, I'm comforted that it's a phase that we're going to go into, but it is something that has started, and I think that it can only get better in terms of making the parties themselves, because really political parties are a source of some of the destabilization in the process, that in the democratic process as we are seeing it right now.
Thank you. George, what's your own view about the role of political parties?
I'm becoming seriously impatient about what is happening. It's over 10 years. We've been talking about the craftiness of political parties. Much more than that. We've been talking about it. How is it that we have not been able to find solution to it? That political parties will always come up in their own way every time, and they must decide that this is where they are going in a corrupt. They must invent some new things, and we as civil society, especially, we have not been able to. That's why we are talking recently about a lot of research to be done, not just coming up to be talking, but really doing researches that will really move into all these things and give us what solutions are to all these things we are facing. The political parties, they stay in their corner and plan a lot of things that will nullify some of the good things that we have come up with. Even the good 2022 Electoral Act that the whole world is saying that Nigeria has done well. No, that's good, and which is true. But the political parties they are sitting down to look at how they can, corner particular areas, and then there are areas that even they are giving INEC headache. You see now, there are areas that if they have their way, they are giving INEC headache, because INEC comes out and tells them that, look, this area, this is what we expect of you. This area, this is what we expect of you. Please. And yet they will still go and do their own. But we thank God that recently INEC has been able to put their feet on the ground more than ever before.
Okay.
And then that, look, you go and change this, go and correct this. If you are allowed to exceed this date, then you are off. And INEC has really kept to their word. So, but what we are to do is that we should be able to find solution, not just looking at they are not spirits. The political parties are not spirits. They are human beings.
How do you know?
They are human beings like us, and so we should be able to engage them and really find solution and to the whatever challenges. And if there is any difference in their whatever problems they are bringing up, the difference is not much. So over the years, we should have been able to engage them. We don't engage them.
Okay.
That's why.
We have 2 more minutes. So, Itia, what's your advice to voters? What should they do to make sure corruption is not a major factor in the forthcoming elections?
My sincere advice to voters is that they must also own the process. They must also own the process. They must not see election just as the other person's business. Every one of us as a voter should own the process. And how do we own the process? We own the process at 3 levels. The first level of owning the process is that I hope that we have our PVC. That's the first level of owning the process, to participate in the election. The second level of owning the process is that you must come out on that day to vote. So you own that process. You must come out on that day to vote, no matter the odds. You must come at least to the larger extent. I'm not saying endanger your life, but at least come out to vote. That's the second level. You own the process by saying, yes, I cast my vote, casting your vote for your preferred candidate. And then the third level of owning the process, I want to encourage every voter to please, after you have voted, please be at that polling unit. Make sure that the votes are counted. Make sure that the results are declared at that center. You are satisfied that this is the result at your own polling unit. Once that is done, you are sure that the beavers will capture that result. That's the least you can do. That result will be sent and it will become a representation of what happened at that polling unit. If all the voters, I believe, we can own that process at those 3 levels, then we are sure to a large extent that INEC doing what it's doing, because technology is involved, the result at the end of the day will be declared should be a fair representation of the will of the people. And that will give us credibility.
George, what's your final advice to voters?
My final advice to voters are these. Just number 1, I think voters should endure. No matter how financially bankrupt they are, no matter how poverty is telling so much on them, they should bear for now and not yield to collecting anything from anybody. Number 2 is that they should endeavor to look away from sentiments. This person is how can I? Is from we are from the same place. I will vote for him. Then we continue suffering. And this person, I like him. I like the way he talks. Then that matters nothing. This other person, because we have done some interview for people, and then recently, and we discovered that
finally,
they are still saying that they will vote for so and so, even though they know the person may not be able to deliver. So they should voters should endeavor to think of who can deliver and then vote for him or her.
Thank you very much, George. Thank you very much, Itia. Viewers, this is the end of the program. Corruption is something that can be fought. That's what our panelists have been saying. And over the years, corruption has been reducing in our electoral system. However, both of them emphasize the role of voters, your role, what you can do to make sure corruption continues to diminish in terms of its impact of our electoral process. Thank you. Next week.